Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Lucas here from No Code Buffs. And today I want to walk you through a quick tutorial on how to connect the Perplexity API with your Bubble app. And if you're doing any AI calls that need web search, you should definitely consider Perplexity. They excel at web search, and there's a lot that you can configure here on their API calls. And so I'm here at the API documentation, and what's really interesting here is that you can absolutely, understand everything that you want by asking any questions. So, if you have any questions about this API documentation, you can definitely just ask a question here, and it will open like a side AI agent that will interact with you about any doubts or questions you have about this API. Okay. So let's take a look at the body parameters that we have here. So we can specify the model, the message, the search mode. So default would be a web search, but you can do an academic and a sec web search. You can configure reasoning effort, max tokens, temperature, top P, language preferences, search domain filters. This is an interesting one. So if you want to keep your searches limited to a specific, or a few web domains, then you can do so here as well. We have return images. Let's see. What else? Top P stream. That's something that I've covered on another video as well in the channel. Response format. So you can specify a response format to be a JSON object, for example. That's really good. And if you're dealing with AI applications, you absolutely need to use or understand at least what JSON output means. Perfect. And so we have web search options as well. So we can specify the search context size. So if we have a low context size, which it means that it will minimize the context for cost savings, but less comprehensive answers. And a high search context maximizes context for comprehensive answers. So essentially means that if you have a high context window, then we will extract a lot more information from the web when we're doing the web searches. So this is a parameter that I think we should absolutely configure. And so let's see if we can use this AI agent here to see how we can integrate this parameter here on our API call. Okay, so let's say something like, give me an example of a chat completion with a medium search context window. So let's see what it does. Perfect. So Perplexity returned the API call with the search context size, which we can configure here on this JSON body. So let's copy this curl example request and let's take this to Bubble to see how we can configure it there. Okay. So let's go to plugins. And if you haven't downloaded your API connector yet, you can do so here on add plugins. And let's add another API. Let's call this Perplexity. And let's click here on import another call. Okay, so we can paste here what we've copied and click on import. Perfect. So it imported this call for us. Let's delete this default one here. And let's move the headers to the shared headers, which means that these headers will be shared with any Perplexity call that we make after this one. So let's just quickly move this authorization, which is your API key here to the top, content type as well. And let's remove these ones from here. Perfect. Okay. So let's call this API call itself chat completion. Let's use as action, which means that we can access it on a workflow. And let's see what we can configure here on the JSON body. So we can configure the model. We can dynamically configure the user content. So let's say user prompt. We can configure here the web search options, context size. And I do want to add also some system instructions. So Let's take a look at the API again and see if we can add some instructions there. So we have model, message, search mode. Um, Role, system. Okay. So we can add a system message with this here. So let's see if I can add this here. Okay. So the role will be system, and then we can configure here the system prompt. Okay. Perfect. So I'd like to keep the model private. I don't need to access it in the workflow. So let's do the Sonar model. User prompt, context size window. Let's leave it at small. I believe that's one of the options, right? So the smallest one. So low actually. So let's leave this to low. System prompt. Let's say something like search the web just to initialize the call. I don't want to make this private. I want to dynamically change this inside the workflow. And for the user prompt, let's say search for information on this specific website, nocodebuffs.com. And so let's try to initialize this call. Oh, we absolutely need the API key, right? So let's see how we can retrieve the API key from our Perplexity account. So let's come here to account and let's click on API. The first thing you do is to set the API billing, right? So you need to add some credits. I have here 31 cents remaining. So let's see if we can at least get a few calls with the Perplexity API on Bubble to initialize it. And you can come here to API keys and generate a new API key. Let me call this one Bubble. And let me copy this key. Let me go ahead and paste this here after bearer. Perfect. So let's try to initialize this call to see if this works. Tool message, alternative assistant. Okay, so from what I'm seeing here, I think I know what's going on. So I believe the system prompt needs to be before the user message. So let's try to move this to the top here to see if we can get a response back. Sorry, let me just move this here. And let's try to initialize this call again. So we have system prompt and then we have the user prompt, which I believe it will work. Perfect. So this is a good sign. It's taken a while to search the web and come up with some information. So I believe this call will work. So let's see. Okay. So we got our answers back. And so we have successfully initialized this call here on Bubble. So now let's connect this to a simple workflow to see if we can get any information out of the API. Okay. So I've set up here a simple multi-line input with the button, and I have here this Perplexity response. So Perplexity is my page, and I have set up a custom state in the page, which is called response. So as soon as we get the answer back from Perplexity, I'm just going to store the value here so that we can see the response here in the bottom. Okay. So let's create a workflow for this AI web search button, and let's look for a Perplexity chat completion. Perfect. And so we have the user prompt. The user prompt, I'll place this on a arbitrary text, and let's say something like search the web and find information about nocodebuffs.com. Okay. And I'm gonna format this as a JSON safe. Okay, so no matter what characters we have here, we can have quotes or um, we can have anything here basically. And then if we format as JSON safe, it will place the quotes around the prompt and make sure it's properly formatted for the API to ingest. Okay. The system prompt, I'll just leave like search the web for now, just so we can see um, the results. This is a very simple web search. And so I think this should do it. And then after we receive back the response, I want to set a state on the element, which will be my page, and then custom state called response. And then let's do result of step one choices, first item, message, content. Okay. So I believe we're ready to test this application now. And we should get a response here back from Perplexity. So let's do that. Sorry, I just realized that it's something wrong, which is that my user prompt should not be specified in the workflow itself. It should be the multi-line input value, right? So whatever the user types here, we want to be able to send that as a prompt. So let me modify this workflow again. And instead of arbitrary text and specifying this here, what I want to do is to basically find the multi-line input value and then format it as JSON safe. Okay. So this will make sure that we're getting the value from the multi-line input. And now if I paste the prompt here or whatever other prompt that we have, and we call Perplexity, we should be able to get a response back in just a few seconds. Okay, perfect. So, No Code Buff is a growing online community designed for no code developers, freelancers, solopreneurs. And so, yeah, I mean, if you haven't checked the community out, I highly suggest you do that. You can ask any questions and so on. But this is just a very quick tutorial to show you how to use Perplexity on your Bubble apps. It's incredibly fast as well for web searches. And if you have any web search features inside your application, you should definitely consider using Perplexity on your Bubble calls. Okay. So, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any suggestions on how I can improve my current videos or you have any ideas for future videos, please drop them down below. Follow the channel, give me a like, it helps the channel a lot. And I do want to provide value to you guys. I want to produce content that you guys want to see. So, please let me know what you want to see and how I can help you on your bubble.io and AI journey. Okay. If you haven't done so, you can sign up for No Code Buffs as well. It's completely free. And first of all, you can ask any questions that you have, regardless of what topic and what tool you're using. We're focused on no code and AI basically. And we have about 65 members that you can directly connect with through the chat. You can answer, you can ask any questions and also connect one on one with the members here. And so this is a really valuable tool to meet people that are on the same journey, especially if you are developing alone. We have a few resources. We're launching a few courses and a few micro tutorials here on the Academy soon. And so if you didn't have a chance yet, you can join here on nocodebuffs.com. It's completely free again, and I hope you like it. Okay.